Most people throughout the world, many even in India, certainly many young people in India, don't truly know what Veda is. The focus of my talk today will be that Vedic science, the Vedic wisdom, is truly scientific. It is immensely practical.
The cow is so revered here that men and women actually coat their heads and faces with cow urine.
I will typically say, I hate to disappoint you, but actually the Vedic science is in most important respects more advanced and far more practical in its application than modern science.
These men actually rub cow urine into their hair. Some even splash it right on their face.
I begin my day with splashing some of it in my eyes, my head, and consuming a little. It is, one of the finest drinks one can have. I have been consuming the cow urine for many, many years today.
Vedic science, the Vedic wisdom, is truly scientific.
I begin my day with splashing some of it in my eyes. I have been consuming a little cow urine. It is for many, many years today.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Islamic Defense Podcast. So a few days ago, I received a comment on my scientific error in Hinduism video. The commenter shared a link to a website which apparently debunks my video. So I decided to take a look, and the arguments in the website were pretty weak. However, before I go there, I feel like a lot of people misunderstood my argument, so I think I need to clarify it. In my video of scientific errors in Hinduism, I am not saying that because science contradicts Hinduism, therefore Hinduism is false. What I am saying is that many people claim that Hinduism is a scientific religion. So if we find any scientific contradictions, it would prove that theory false. So let me put this argument into a logical form. Premise 1. Some Hindus claim that there are scientific miracles in Hinduism, or that Hinduism is a very scientific religion. Premise 2. If we find anything that contradicts this theory, it would prove this theory false. Premise 3. In my scientific error in Hinduism video, we found many scientific errors in the Hindu religious text, which contradicts this theory. Conclusion. Therefore, since scientific errors contradict this theory, therefore this theory is proven false. Now, let's take a look at some of the arguments that's made by some of my Hindu viewers or the apologetics against my video. Number 1. We don't take the Puranas seriously. Now, one of the most common arguments I heard is that Hindus apparently don't take the Puranas seriously. Now, obviously, if this is the case, I would love to see the reason for this and the evidence for this. However, the problem is that no one was able to give me a reason or a good evidence for which shows that the Puranas are no longer canon. However, here's why I still think that the Puranas need to be mentioned. Many Hindus still take the Puranas seriously. So much so that on the national television, you can even see many Hindu priests teaching to other people spells from the Puranas. That's right, there are some spells that can help you apparently get a job and these things. So these spells can be found in the Hindu Puranas. Inshallah, I'll post a link below of one of those videos in the description so you can check them out for yourself. Also, this is a lie. This is a clear-cut lie. The Puranas are a very big and important part of Hinduism. According to Vrindavan Chandra Das, the founder of Gauranang Institute for Vedic Education, or GIVE for short, he says that not only are the Puranas part of Hinduism, that it actually completes the Vedas. He says that if the Vedas are the law, the Puranas are the law journals. It's how you understand the Vedas. So it's basically history of how the Vedic laws were used. So in other words, it's basically like the tafsir or the hadith of Hinduism. Here's what Vrindavan Chandra Das has to say in his lecture.
Vedas mean Remember one thing, all the 4 Vedas, Puranas, Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharata, it includes, people sometimes think that Puranas are not included in Vedas. But try to understand one thing, that after Vyasadev is the person who divided the Vedas into 4. After dividing the Vedas into 4, he still had 1 billion verses left. So then he put those billion verses into Puranas. Now what is the difference between Puranas and Vedas? Vedas are like law books and Puranas are like law journal. Now you understood what is the difference between law book and law journal? Law book states that this is the law, and law journal states the case histories. If you follow the ones who followed the law, this is what happened. The ones who did not follow the law, this is what happened. So when you study law, there are 2 books, law books and law journals. Journals are the case study. Constitution does not give you the case studies. Constitution does not give you case studies. In the same way, the Vedas only give you laws, whereas the Puranas give you the case histories. That's why you have all these Prahlad Maharaj, Hiranyakashipu, Ravana, and Itihas, history. Ramayana is history, Mahabharata is history. And Purana also means Purna. It completes the Vedas. The law books are completed by the law journals. The lawyers in court of law also quote the law journals. Do they do that or not? This was the Supreme Court actually said this. This was the decision by the Supreme Court. That means that is how this law should be interpreted.
So as you can clearly see, the Puranas are most definitely part of Hinduism. If any Hindu is watching, I request that please don't be dishonest and distort your religion. It's a really bad way to defend your religion. Number 2. Puranas are just metaphors, you silly Muslims. So this is another argument that came up. So one Hindu viewer of mine actually shared a web link where a Hindu apologetic website argues that apparently the story about mountains having wings is just a metaphor. Us silly Muslims are too stupid to understand this amazing allegory. So this is basically what the article says. Some Muslims are so damn idiot that they take the Purana stories literally. We know that these stories carries high symbolism. Just as we know that goddess Parvati, it's said to be the daughter of a mountain. So will Muslims say that according to Hinduism, mountains had sexual intercourse? Puranas always projected natural elements like mountains, air, water in a human body. When air is projected in a human body, we call it Vayu Dev. When fire is projected in human body, we call it Agni Dev, etc. The same way, Puranas describe a story where Lord Indra, king of all natural elements, cut the wings of the mountains, Lord of Mountain. This story was just to tell that mountains are immovable. Us silly Muslim, we just don't understand a metaphor when we see it. However, here's the problem. Neither does the Hindus apparently. So I found a discussion on this topic in hindustackexchange.com, and someone asked about this, and the most upvoted response was this. Mainak Parvat had wings. This is a mountain that they're talking about. Earlier, all the mountains had wings. They, out of pride, started flying in the air and settling down at their will. This caused inconvenience to the people at large. Hence, Indra cut the wings of all the mountains. But Mainak, the golden Parvat, 100 yojanas in Vadev, took shelter of Vayu and then consequently was saved and allowed to stay in Lavan Samudra. You can also read about this in the blog post. In a blog post that I'll inshallah share in their website. So the second most upvoted answer was this. Yes, mountains had wings. When landing, mountains killed innocent human beings and disturbed yojanas. And without yojana, devas had no food. Without yojanas, devas had no food. Indra cut their wings with his thunderbolt to solve that problem. This is described in chapter 4 of Setu Mahatma, Brahma Kanda of Skanda Purana. Sri Sutta said that 53b, 58, formerly all the mountains had wings, apparently. They had the velocity of mind. They moved about here and there by their ethereal path along the other mountains nearby. They glided and flew along and settled on cities and countries, villages and forests. Whenever these mountains settled down like this, men, crows, and other living beings were crushed by them. So apparently these mountains were flying around, like drones. And I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't laugh. I mean, it's kind of weird to imagine this, but you know what? This is their belief, whatever. But anyway, let's continue. So they met instantaneous death when Brahmanas and peoples of other castes perished thereby. This prevented the basically they didn't have an airport or anything, so they just landed wherever they could and crushed people basically. This prevented the performance of yajnas, etc. On account of the absence of yajnas and other rites, Devas became distressed. Indra became infuriated. Seizing the thunderbolt, he cut off the wings of the powerful mountains. When their wings was thus being cut off by Indra, all the mountains had no other refuge. Out of fear, they entered the sea. So, as you can see, it's a very elaborate answer, but at least I appreciate the honesty. Now, if this is the case that, this is just a metaphor, as the website says, then why are all these Hindus saying that no, mountains actually had wings? How come they don't know that this is a metaphor? You know what? Forget the layman. Let's see what the classical scholars have to say regarding this. So H.H. Wilson says in his footnote of the verse of Rig Veda 2:12:2 that Ya Pravat Prakupitan Aramant, the socialist says he quieted the mountains, going hither and thither. As long as they had wings, Indra cut them off. Also, we can see Swami Prabhudeva's commentary on this verse, who writes that in many descriptions in Vedic literature, it is found that mountains also fly in the sky with wings. So when such mountains are dead, they fall to the ground, and where they stay as very large dead bodies. You read about this in Swami Prabhupada on Srimad Bhagavatam 8:11-12. I'll post the link below. You can check it out. So again, if this verse is just a metaphor, then why are all these scholars interpreting this verse literally? I mean, are they also idiots like us Muslims? Either they have no idea what they're talking about, or the people who claim that this is a metaphor are a bunch of liars. So again, I'm going to put this argument into logical form. Premise 1. Some Hindus claim that the mountains having wings is just a metaphor. Premise 2. If you find anything that contradicts this theory, you would prove this theory false. Premise 3. We see that many Hindus and Hindu scholars have interpreted these verses literally. Conclusion. Therefore, the claim that mountains having wings is just a metaphor is proven false. Now, if you want more details, please check out Brother Sulaiman Rizvi's blog post about this. He gives an excellent refutation to these types of Hindu apologetic nonsense. Now let's continue. Number 3. Hindu embryology is perfect, damn it. Then again, the website says in response to scientific errors, by article written by Brother Sulaiman Rizvi, and said that then they quoted Brahma Vaivrakta Purana, Prakriti Kanda 35:1-1 to 141, Skanda Purana 5:3-159, which is what I quoted in my video, by the way, and claimed that according to these two verses, a baby forms when semen mixes with menstrual blood. But even this is far away from the truth. Both Brahma Vaivarta Purana and Skanda Puran used the word blood, not menstrual blood. One more thing that proves that the blood described in both of these Puranas is not menstrual blood, and is the very first line of Brahma Vaivarta Purana, Prakriti Kanda 35, page number 121 to 141, it says that when semen is cast into womb, we know that menstrual blood comes from uterus. It is not present inside the womb, where Puranas clearly stated that it is talking about the blood in the womb. By the way, fun fact, I never said menstrual blood in my video at all. Neither did Brother Sulaiman Rizvi in his blog. Then why is he lying? Like, we never said anything about menstrual blood at all. But anyway, of course it's not a response to me, it's a response to Brother Sulaiman Rizvi, but it's kind of funny because he never said this. And you know what? Let's say for the sake of argument, I accept this premise. That Skanda Purana is actually talking about blood from the womb and not menstrual blood. Well, guess what? It's still a scientific error. I mean, babies are not born when semen is mixed with blood in the womb. A conception happens when a sperm cell penetrates a female egg. There is a great article in WebMD, which is reviewed by Dr. Dan Brannon, which explains how a baby is born. The article says, fertilization happens when a sperm meets and penetrates an egg. It's also called conception. At this moment, the genetic makeup is completed, including the sex of the baby. Within about 3 days after conception, the fertilized egg is divided very fast into many cells. It passes through the fallopian tube or into the uterus, where it attaches to the uterine wall. The placenta, which will nourish the baby, also starts to form. So as you can clearly see, the Puranas have a scientific error. This whole nonsense that, this apologetic nonsense that it doesn't contain scientific error, it does. However, even if it does have scientific error, doesn't mean that Hinduism is false. That's not what I'm arguing here. My main argument in my original video was philosophical. I showed philosophical contradiction. For example, mountains having wings, I don't have a problem with that. My problem is that when you say that your religion is scientifically accurate, and I see in the text that it says that mountains had wings, that's a problem. It's a contradiction. You know? And it doesn't prove Hinduism is false, it just proves your theory false. You know, it just shows that your theory is not accurate. Your idea that Hinduism is somehow a scientific religion, and yet no one knew except you, you know, it's not true. It's not a scientific religion. Religion is based on faith. It's based on, you know, faith, philosophy, logic, you know, whatever. You know, a lot of different things can come out of religion, but religion has to be at some form based on faith. You know, of course we use evidences and reason and philosophical arguments to prove our case, which is one thing, but when you try to make a scientific case, it's a problem because science itself has many problems. And I feel like Muslims have recently started to notice this, and we also made this mistake. Like Dr. Zakir Naik, as much as I love him, like he made this mistake, but you know, may Allah preserve him, he's still one of the best apologetics out there. But I feel like Muslims need to stop using science to conflate science with religion, because it becomes pseudoscience basically. And the Hindus are doing the same thing here, and that's what I'm refuting. I'm not refuting Hinduism. My main argument against Hinduism in my original video is philosophical in nature. I showed the contradiction in their philosophical contradiction in their religion, you know, because, you know, I showed in my original video that, you know, the God of knowledge who created everything, if he knows everything, then he should know that giving wings to mountains was a bad idea. And that's what pointed out, you know, this is a contradiction. And again, my original video was aimed towards Hindu extremists, you know, people who hate Islam and Muslims with a passion. I'm not talking to lay people here. I'm not talking about normal persons. Okay, I'm not addressing like some peaceful Hindus. I haven't addressed this in the beginning of my video. I'm basically addressing extremist Hindus who hate Muslims. That's what I'm addressing. I'm attacking their core ideology. I'm not attacking normal peaceful Hindus. As a matter of fact, I tell them not to watch my video because I don't want to hurt their feelings. You know, I don't want to hurt any religious people's feelings. That's not the point of my video. The point of my video was two. One, I want to address Hindu extremists. 2, I want to show that, many Hindus who try to use their religion to show that this is somehow scientific. I want to prove that theory false and show that no, it's not scientific. And that's okay. That's okay if Hinduism is not scientific. It doesn't have to be. I mean, I think Hinduism is a great religion. It's an ancient religion. It's really interesting. But it's not a scientific religion. And you can still make a case for it without anything science at all. You can make a philosophical case for it. There are many great philosophical arguments you can make based on Hinduism. But just don't use science. But anyway, with that, I'm ending the video. Inshallah, I'll make more responses to Hindu apologetics in the future. And by the way, if any Hindu is watching, by the way, please don't take this negatively. I don't hate Hindus or even Hinduism. But I do think that from an Islamic perspective, some criticism, fair criticism, and some debate and discussion should be had. Hinduism is a great religion. And there are many criticisms against both all the major world religions. I don't think Hinduism should be an exception. Think of this as a compliment. I'm learning more about Hinduism. If I'm wrong, you can show me where I'm wrong. But again, please don't take it personally. This is just my criticism. If you believe in freedom of speech, you shouldn't have a problem with me. So please don't take it personally. If you can refute my argument logically, then please do so. I would love to be corrected. But please don't attack me personally because, again, like I said, I don't hate Hinduism. I have many Hindu friends, actually. So, yeah. And with that, I'll be ending the video. Inshallah, I'll make more responses to, like I said, Hindu apologetics. I'm thinking of making this into a series with short videos. The reason for that is that long videos take a lot of time to edit, which is kind of a nightmare. But, yeah. However, before I go, I do want to share a video with you guys that I found online. In this video, a Hindu child is singing about the death of Kashmiris. When I saw this video, it made me sick to my stomach because these Hindu extremist nut jobs are so sick. They're such lunatics that they're literally teaching their kids that Kashmiris deserve to die. This is disgusting. I'm sorry for using that language, but this is disgusting. And I'm not even joking. Here, take a look.
कश्मीर में रहते हैं खाते हिंदुस्तान का कश्मीर में रहते हैं खाते हिंदुस्तान का फिर भी गाते रहते हैं गीत पाकिस्तान का फिर क्यों गाते रहते हैं गीत पाकिस्तान का ऐसे धोखेबाजों को जीने का अधिकार नहीं ऐसे धोखेबाजों को जीने का अधिकार नहीं गला पकड़कर गद्दारों का सबक सिखा दो पाक को गला पकड़कर गद्दारों का सबक सिखा दो पाक को लाल चौक में गोली मारो देश के गद्दारों को बहुत हो गया भाईचारा लाते मारो सालों को बहुत हो गया भाईचारा लाते मारो सालों को मैं भी बड़ी होकर आईपीएस बनना चाहती हूँ और चुन चुनकर गद्दारों को मारना चाहती हूँ इसलिए मुझे आपका आशीर्वाद दें जय हिंद जय हिंदुस्तान धन्यवाद.
Again, like I said, I feel really sick after watching this video. Kashmiris are human beings. And these people who are doing this are disgusting and sick. This is why we have to expose Hindu extremism and Hindutva for the violent and discriminatory religion and ideology that it is. With that, I'll end the video. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.